Good morning, everyone. I wish I had some good news for you all today, but unfortunately, things are looking kind of grim right now, if you will, because today NATO is scheduled to have an emergency meeting about the war in Ukraine and about how they're going to handle the situation with Russia moving forward. And let me let you in on a little secret. I know a little bit of what they're going to discuss because NATO kind of, I guess you can say, let the cat out of the bag yesterday. But they're going to be discussing what would probably lead up to the end of the world. They're going to be discussing preemptive strikes against Russia. Now, from my understanding, and I'm not sure how many of you all are aware of this, and some of you all are more knowledgeable about this than I am, but NATO is supposed to be a defense alliance. Right now, we are watching a major shift when we hear talks of preemptive strikes. NATO is the defense alliance that basically says, hey, if you attack this country, you attack all of us, we're going to come to the defense, right? They're not supposed to be an offensive alliance that goes out here and tries to conquer the world and attack countries and do stuff like that, although obviously we know what they actually do. But that's going to be one of the topics of discussions in this emergency meeting. And if you know the realities of what that would cause, what that would bring about to the world, then yeah, you should probably be scared right now. Let's say best case scenario, folks. The best case scenario is that nukes don't come into play, but they will. But let's say best case scenario, if we lived in imagination land, then this would be a conventional ground war. No nukes would get involved, and still the majority of Earth would be wiped out. You can look around you right now. Some of the people around you right now will not make it through this conflict. You can think of all the people you have in your life. A lot of them will not make it through this conflict. The reality is that you or me, we probably won't make it through this conflict. And that's just if things are on a conventional level. That's if things are just like, let's say, World War II before, America came in and dropped the bombs on Japan. Now, speaking of that, the bombs we have these days will make the bombs we dropped on Japan look like child's play. Okay? So the best case scenario, if this is a conventional ground war, which it will not be, nukes will be flying quickly if this thing escalates too much further. But even if it didn't, then a large portion of the world will be wiped out by this conflict. Millions upon millions upon millions, hundreds and hundreds of millions of people. But what is more likely is that it would evolve into nuclear Armageddon. And once the first nuke goes off, another nuke goes off, and then next thing you know, the nukes are just flying everywhere, and then the Earth is uninhabitable. But like I said, NATO kind of already let the cat out of the bag about what they're going to be talking about. So I want to dive into this information really quickly. NATO is discussing the possibility of preemptive strikes against Russia. NATO is discussing the possibility of preemptive precision strikes on the territory of Russia in the event of an armed conflict with the alliance countries. This was stated at a conference in Brussels by the head of the Military Committee of NATO. He called positive the fact that NATO has changed its attitude to the essence of the organization as a defensive alliance, as well as the perception that it is necessary to sit and wait for us to be attacked, and then, and only then, react. You see, that's what I was just talking about. You see, this is not what NATO is supposed to be about, but now they're trying to redefine what NATO is simply because they're bloodthirsty. And it honestly looks like NATO is like desperate to get World War III right now. It's crazy. If you know anything about the conflict that's going on, you know that the last week has been absolutely insane. And the decisions that are being made don't make any sense unless you want the outcome to be a major global conflict that many of us won't survive. But it looks like that's what these people want. And, I mean, Russia's not bluffing, and I think NATO knows that Russia isn't bluffing anymore. So anything that you could possibly imagine is on the table right now. And now we have NATO trying to redefine what they are. They're saying, hey, we shouldn't have to wait around for an attack. We should be able to attack first. And in my honest opinion, in my humble opinion, when I look at what's going on in Ukraine, and this is a non-biased opinion, it doesn't look to me like Putin is trying to take over all of Ukraine and then take over Poland and then take over that country and that country. At least right now, it doesn't look like that to me. And at first, I thought that would be the case. But I don't see the actions that I've seen from the Russian military so far from Putin. It doesn't show me that Putin has those aspirations. But I could be wrong. But this isn't a situation where you could, you don't have room for mistakes. Let's put it like that. So you have to move very carefully in a situation like this. But NATO is acting like a bull in a china shop right now. But let's go ahead and go further. The head of the NATO military committee stated, "It is more competent not to wait, but to hit launchers in Russia in case Russia attacks us. A combination of precision strikes is needed that will disable the systems that are used to attack us, and we must strike first," said Bauer. So this is just, it's absolutely reckless behavior. And it honestly feels like, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not dumb. It feels like our lives are not being taken into consideration at all. My life, your life, it doesn't matter who you voted for. It doesn't matter what country you live in. As a whole right now, this NATO alliance, it seems like the people who live in these countries, their lives aren't being taken into consideration. And, what's going on in Ukraine, we're all going to have a different opinion about that. And a lot of people's opinions on Ukraine and the conflict in Ukraine, they're formed, based on propaganda that we're constantly being fed here in America. I can assure you we're not getting the whole truth. We're not even getting a small portion of the truth about what's really going on over there and even about how all of this started. Most people are being fed a stream of lies. And it's causing some people to be in support of something when I don't think they understand the seriousness of this. When I say that this will lead, like literally, if these crazy psychopaths decide to preemptively strike Russia, when I say that could lead to the end of the world, that's not over-exaggeration for shock and awe. That's not me over-exaggerating because I'm here on YouTube. I'm not one of those guys that over-exaggerates my emotions and reactions. No, I'm just being real with you about the possible outcomes and probably the most likely outcome of where this conflict will go if it gets any worse from here. But, it looks like it's going to get worse from here, because this emergency meeting is about what the next steps will be. And we've already seen that Germany is laying out all of these plans, 8,100 troops, and, people are building the bunkers. They're literally already starting to convert subways into bomb shelters. It's getting crazy around the world, folks. So we're just going to have to watch how this plays out. And I'm honestly concerned about what the day will bring. I have no idea what the day will bring next. But if it's anything like the past few days have been, I wouldn't be surprised if things get even worse today. But for now, let me know your thoughts below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next video.